this movie is pretty much about, it's like a perfect assassin movie, like beat by beat, about just a guy who's like, yeah, I hate my job now, and then kills this guy, little kid that he's working with, but turns out that he doesn't killing him. Instead, wants to bang his mom. Yeah, so that's kind of like the entirety of this
There's
movie.
a lot of questions that I have about this movie.
Question?
Yep.
So yes, we are getting past subtitles. I'm Sean Peel.
This is DK Lee.
And we are bringing you everything Asian action movies this time around. So we are in our, third movie? Yeah. Yes, because I have two more out of... No, three, because we have...
I did three.
Yes.
You need three left. You have three left.
Yeah. I have two, because... Yeah, because we did Man of Nowhere, which was you.
No, that was you.
Oh, yeah, I did decide to pick it.
And then it was me. And then it was Police Story. And then...
That's right. So last week we covered Police Story. No, we didn't. It was good, bad, weird.
And the weird.
And then...
Come on, bro.
Well, that's because I edited Police Story. I have to remember that,
Yeah, we did Police Story, and then we did Good, Bad, Weird.
And then now we're in 2012 with Accompaniment. So we are back in South Korea. And just a little bit about this movie. Once again. Which we return to because the next is Japan, and then the last movie is... No, actually, this is it, because the last movie is Chinese.
Yours is Japanese and Chinese, right?
Yep, yeah. I already did my Korean pass.
Yeah, you did one.
So yeah, this came out in 2012. It was directed by Lim Sung-young, who... This is his directorial debut, apparently.
Okay.
He's done this. I think he's mainly like a writer, and he's acted in a couple things I've seen. So 2012, it's kind of like a wannabe Man from Nowhere, I guess, since it's came after Man from Nowhere, somewhere in that vicinity. But yeah, it's really your like beat by beat like story kind of trope thing. Like really, like everything that I could think of trope wise in this genre, it's like fits it to like the nail,
Yeah.
What is some of your thoughts? Come walk us through. Why'd you pick this, man? Why'd you make me do it?
Well, I've never watched it before until this time, and I watched it a little bit in the beginning. I think of like quite a while ago, and then I stopped for some reason. I think I was just thinking about doing other stuff, and I started doing other stuff, and I just never got around to it.
I can understand why.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think the beginning like really gripped me as much as I thought. I think in the beginning, long time ago. I think that's probably why.
Sure.
Watching it now, I actually enjoyed the parallels between like or like the kind of using like work life as kind of like a cover, and like the different kind of nuances and the parallels where like they're talking about work, but the work is like, killing somebody. Yeah. And so they're using like the lingo of like, office lingo and jargon, but then, they're actually talking about like killing somebody, or like, like you can't fire me, and stuff like that. Like where like they're talking about like, stuff that would happen in normal office, life, but they're talking about like actually killing you. Like firing you means we're like gonna get rid of you. You know what I mean? Like actual like termination. So
termination is termination.
Yeah, exactly. And so those kind of things I think were kind of very fun to kind of watch and just kind of see how they're utilizing that.
Yeah, they very definitely stick to their guns with that cover up and sort of and just that's like their company was just a company, sort of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And there was no instance where they came out and said like what their actual job was, And even the scene where he like explains to the mom like completely, it just cuts, like fades to the next thing, and we never hear it,
right?
So yeah, it definitely sticks to its again, like its guns on that matter.
And I think I appreciated maybe like, how we like talk about substance a lot?
Sure.
But I think it is interesting to kind of think about this in terms of like work life and how, you know, like in the beginning, the main character, he talks about like, you know, he talks to that guy who retired.
Right.
And he's talking about like how, like, why did you retire? Why do you feel like, you know, why do you feel this way? And like he kind of talks about why he decided to retire and like kind of, if you were to draw a parallel to like just working in like that kind of setting, like company setting, and like thinking about how people talk about like work and how like they get burned out and like how they talk about those kind of things, and kind of like this is kind of shedding a little bit of light into that, where like you know, the company is really about like the company and what it does, and like, you know, like it's like kind of like company first kind of thing. Whereas like the main character, he kind of wants to live his own life or like have a certain kind of balance with his life. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know if this film was a critique of like company like structure or like
white collared
white collar society and like the way that, you know, it's run and the way that, you know, companies tend to incentivize working hard, but then at the detriment of like, you know, personal well-being or whatever, like, stuff like that. And especially in Korea, because the work-life environment is very kind of structured and very top-down and kind of heavy-hitting for a lot of the, you know, just company salarymen and women there. So maybe it was a critique on that. But I feel like you could kind of see it as a critique on that, or kind of as a commentary of that, about that kind of life, where you're talking about like what at what cost do you know work for the company, and like at what cost like of your own personal life or your personal health or whatever do you know work for the good of the company and stuff like that. And I feel like this film kind of plays to certain things, and I think it could be a commentary on those things.
I think for sure, in a perspective, you can see it as a commentary on, you know, the white collar society. But or as like, you know, just because it doesn't like the movie is very focused on its story and its plot for sure. So you can kind of see it as like a metaphor for you know, sort of like that, just through like an action film kind of lens sort of thing.
And the violence is kind of like to show you kind of obviously it's obviously the extreme, right? Like it's just an extreme, but it's to kind of, you know, it's to shed some light on certain aspects of company life that could maybe not be too great. I mean, like for instance, like there are parts in the film where you realize like they talk about like, oh, it's just a job, right? Like it's just work. And this like concept of just like complacency and just being like, oh, you know, it's just another day of work, but they're like killing people, right? But then you can get so like caught up in the repetitiveness. You can get caught up in the banality of just everyday life of working. And you don't realize like what you're actually doing, like even if it might be like a bad thing that you're doing. And a lot of corruption kind of happens that way, where like you don't think about, you know, how bad something can be. You just do it because you're told to. Like it's like my boss told me to do it, so I just did it. You
don't pull back.
Right. And there's no longer a sense of your own morality or your own decision of what's right and wrong. You just follow the orders from the top. And you see that in this film too, where everyone else is just like, the boss told me to kill this guy, so I'm just gonna kill you. Like even the main character is like, they told me to kill you, so I'm gonna kill you now, right? You know what I mean?
It's just work.
And the main character is the only one who kind of realizes, hey, maybe this is not the best thing to do. Like especially in the very beginning when he like kills the part-time worker, the temp, the temp, right?
You were just a temp.
But then he you know, lies and he doesn't really kill him.
I mean, like in a way, kind of each character, like thinking about it that way, each character really does sort of represent kind of like a typical person or persona, like in the workforce sort of way. I mean, because the main character is very very much like follow the orders and don't question the boss sort of thing. And people like him and
because of that, right?
Because of that. Yeah. And you know, he's like goes up for a promotion. Yeah. And so he's very like highly put on a standard because he just keeps his head down.
He does the right thing in the eyes of the company, right?
He does a good job and he asks no questions. He's efficient.
He asks no questions.
So he's really like
he doesn't make mistakes until now.
I want to know about mistakes, but so yeah, and like you know, like even with the boss and like the chairman, and then there's like the guy who's kind of like the suck up to the company and wants to get up but doesn't really do much. Yeah, and you know, like even to the retiree, it was I retired, but now that I'm retired, I'm like I kind of want to work again. Yeah, you know, sort of thing, and then like with the temp is sort of the newbie in the job and
Or like he just gets disposed, and that's such a true thing, even in just company life.
Well, you know, he puts in his all in the company, right? And he says it as nothing, well, you know, right. And even when we first find out that he's actually still alive, he's like, "Well, why are they firing me?" Is like, "Is my work not good enough?" Sort of, you know. But he doesn't, you know, in terms of the story, he doesn't understand what's going on,
right? Really. But you know, like that. That's relevant in like in real life too, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where like temp workers, you know, like they could put their all and like maybe the company says, oh, like if you work for, you know, a month, we'll see how you do. And like, you know, maybe you can become a full-time contract worker at our company.
A month later.
Sorry. Exactly. You know how many people just get like thrown back out. And that's kind of like maybe a parallel to this too, where, you know, in this world, you die for it. But, you know, even in real life, you know, people could work 3 months, you know, at a temp job and, you know, they're expecting maybe, you know, and they did a good job, right? They're doing a good job, but because the company can't afford or doesn't want to, they just throw them away. And it's kind of interesting to see kind of that happening in this film where obviously it's more extreme, but.
There is an interesting comparison now that you mentioned it. That is pretty linear to real life as well. Now, is that like the intention of the director in the script is a whole other question? Yeah,
but I mean, I'm pretty sure he had these things in mind.
Oh, sure.
Because, I mean, the whole premise of the story is about, you know, a company. So I'm sure he was thinking about these things while he was doing it. It's just interesting. I think that was the most interesting part for me as I was watching this film. More than even the action. To be honest,
sounds like a little forced that you're like, I have to give myself a reason to like this movie.
No. I'm giving you the things I liked first because there's plenty of things I did not like about this film that I'm going to get to soon. So I'm just laying down the foundation of like what were the good things in this film.
I wanted to bring this on a high note before we shatter.
Oh, don't worry, I have plenty of bad things to say about this film.
He's like, my clip is loaded.
But yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I really enjoyed this part of the film where it's kind of putting a commentary on the social work life.
I will say you definitely have more of a, I guess, a keen and analytical eye compared to this movie. Because for me, like, it's not something that I would have thought about when watching it. But now that you mention it, it's pretty unique and it's that way. Yeah. But like, just like the simplicity of the story and how straightforward it is as like a script, it's kind of hard to.
It is very simple. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to like look beyond that and sort of, and you really like. You do have to kind of like force yourself to be like.
Well, you can if you look hard.
Sorry, I'm probably with the rest of the gang here and like.
But I mean, typically, you don't go into this film thinking about those things, obviously, because it's an action film. You don't really.
You don't want to think that.
Usually in action films, you don't think about things too much.
You should see the comments about this.
Oh really? I didn't look at the comments, but.
Well, like it's all like on a Wiki Asian. It's like all like. The actors' fans. Like, what is his name?
Josie Sup. Yeah, Josie Sup. Yeah.
And they're all like, I love Josie Sup, and they like abbreviate his name to JSB.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, we love JSB. Oh my god, he was great in this.
Wait, JSJ.
Yeah.
Josie Sup.
Josie.
So. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. That was all the fandoms were in there.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, he's very popular in.
He looks like a pretty boy, kind of like, really? You know, and he has that aura to him, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can kind of jump into the actual plot of the story.
Yeah, why don't you?
I'll go on. I'll take the mantle this time. So we follow this guy. His name is Hyeong-do, and he works for the quote unquote like the company.
Yeah, the company
essentially. And so like it just starts off with him and who we find out as a temp worker, and so he's like delivering kimchi basically.
Right. That's his cover.
Yeah. So like we don't even know. Is it the police?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So I think the very beginning part, I think it's a witness protection thing where there's like this criminal who probably is like
probably related to, because like before he dies, he's like, I swear I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, he was probably gonna snitch on somebody, and the police were protecting him.
Gotcha.
And then
so yeah, this kid murders everybody, including the witness essentially.
Yeah.
And then the boss, so Hyeong-do, pretty much like kills him. So we think as sort of to like loose ends, you can pretty much say.
To tie loose ends.
But then he's like, I have one more favor. And then we cut to like him. And we understand that it's a cover after that. Like he drops off the van to like some construction workers. And then he goes to the real office in the real company. And so like the company that it works for, like they're basically assassins. But the cover for the company is like metal manufacturers.
Yeah, something very generic kind of.
Something crazy like
company,
that.
Yeah.
And there's like a secret like hideout door like in the kitchen and everything.
In the company, yeah.
And so we kind of get like a whiff in the beginning too that Hyeong-do he's kind of like feeling the mundane of the job, you know? And he's like makes a mistake driving, and he's like, what's up with you today? He's like, well, when you've been doing this as long as I have, sort of thing. And so like he's going through the company, and we kind of understand like more of him and his job, and he does like sort of like gig by gig, like assassinates this guy, and then goes on through and then does like another job with his coworkers. But we understand that he's very like, I guess, prestige in his job. Like the chairman looks up to him as what he does because he's very good at his job, and he's very like polite, and he's very much like that like figurehead,
typical
of, like,
model worker,
standout employee.
Yeah,
if there was an employee of the month, there you go. Like if there was a plaque for this guy, he would have gotten it, and he kind of gets it. He gets like the name.
Well, he gets a promotion at the end.
In the middle,
yeah,
somewhere like that. So he carries out the favor for the temp worker, which is basically to give the money that he'd been saving up to his family.
Yeah.
And so what a coincidence. Like the mom is like the singer that he used to listen to as like a kid.
Yeah.
And the parents, like the family's like all broken. Like the girl's like hanging out with thugs and like smoking.
The daughter.
The daughter. And basically like a family of like poverty essentially. So he recognizes her and then grows an attachment to the mom. And then sort of things unfold, and then we figure out that he didn't really murder the temp worker.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions because, like, for some reason, apparently, did the mom know that he was alive or not alive? Because then there's a scene where they meet up in a restaurant in the middle, like out of the blue.
Well, I think in the middle, it's just he brings the temp worker to the mom, and they kind of have. It's
like
together.
Their cover up is like he had an accident in the workplace, and then he is
pretty much covered by insurance or whatever.
But like after the fact, he's let go because he obviously doesn't go back to the job.
Yeah.
So they're like all worried, but then he finds his way back home, so they're not worried. And so kind of things get like mixed up with Hyeong-do at his work, and kind of like starts making mistakes. Well, he gets assigned to a particular job. His chairman says that his Hyeong-do's former supervisor, his boss, is pretty much like...
He gone rogue.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He gone rogue because his son had died in an accident, essentially, and something happened with his wife that they don't really explain. But he's like, not killing him. He kind of like... It's like an under the job table. He's like, just kind of warn him, essentially.
Yeah.
But despite the warning, he still goes rogue and does despite what the company says. And then he gets... passed for an assignment to kill him, and then
he doesn't kill him.
But the company finds out
that he didn't kill him,
right? And then they force him to kill him in front of everybody.
Yeah. And
as this is going along, the police start investigating, and they kind of start to catch up with what's going on, and they pretty much follow Hyeong-do, and he gives them their cards so he like the police starts to know where the workplace is.
Yeah.
And so like there's like little like paper trails of what's going on, sort of thing. But the company starts having doubts about Hyeong-do, and essentially then they find out like, oh, he didn't even murder the temp worker, and so then they just kind of like again.
And he's flirting with the mom.
Oh, he's like, yeah, they're like later,
like hardcore, bro.
He's screwing the mom. He's
like they have pictures and everything.
Like, so like Hyeong-do's motive is to eventually retire or resign and go into retirement and use the money that he saved up to go figure
to run a cafe that the
mom's mom runs.
Is it the mom's mom? I think it's like the mom's friend or something in that.
Well, I thought in the dialogue she was like, she said something about her being her daughter. She was like, well,
really?
If I had a daughter that wasn't so like whatever.
I don't know. Anyways,
I thought she referred to her as.
I don't think it's the mom.
I thought it was, but like she's a little older to be a friend too, though.
Yeah, I mean she's like an older lady.
She's like an aunt kind of old, you know.
Yeah,
or a mom.
But I don't think it's a mom, dude.
Again, like just explain these things.
I'm not sure. Right. But I don't think so.
To me, it seemed like a mom because I thought she said that, like if I didn't have like a bashful daughter or something like that, like.
I don't know. Anyways,
but yeah,
that's beside the point.
So yeah, eventually the company's like, we got to murder this guy, and then he's like, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then like the climax fight happens, and then the mom dies. So like he has kind of like a friend with a former person that works at the company.
Yeah.
And he flees to him for safety, but then he backstabs Hyeong-do.
He's a retiree.
Yeah.
Who decides to go back to to work.
But in order to do that, he has to rat out
pretty much
Hyeong-do and everybody else, which he does, and then he kills him, and then the mom gets shot, and then she dies, and then he's like, this company sucks. This company sucks. And then it's like,
I go kill everyone now.
Mean face on, like just walks like front door and then murders everybody while surviving like 30 bullets to the chest. And then
that fight.
Happy ending.
So bad.
Where do we begin?
So yeah, that's basically the story.
What do you think of the characters, I guess? What do you...
Characters? They're mediocre, I feel like.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, everything is very like flat in a sense of being typical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, Hyeong-do is just the perfect, like, quiet, kind of perfect employee assassin guy who just has, like, that one little spark of, like, I hate my job. And then, like, meets the woman that gets him to, like, fully commit to leaving. And then...
The main character was fine, I feel like, for the role. But I think the side characters, honestly, fell a bit short, I feel like. Even in the acting, I felt like it was kind of awkward in certain moments. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think that they were bad or necessarily
It wasn't
awkward.
bad, but there are certain moments where I just kind of felt a little like cringe. I don't know.
Well, like for me, it's like the writing of it, you know?
Maybe it's the writing.
Yeah, I don't think it was
I think it's a mixture.
Could be.
I mean, for me.
Right.
But.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like the chemistry between the main character and the mother was kind of funky. And the relationship between the main character and the son of the mother, and like when they're all at the dinner thing, kind of felt kind of weird.
It's funny because there's like an interesting dynamic like in that, you know, like the family dynamic itself is weird.
Awkward and weird.
Right. Like there's the rebellious daughter kind of thing, and then there's like then she's sort of the passive single mom kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, well, like I guess the outlier really is the son of him, because he's like as like important as he kind of is, he doesn't have much screen time.
Yeah.
And he's just not really there. Yeah. You know? And he doesn't really have too much of a personality either.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like he has much of a presence in this film. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons. Because I mean he's there, but like he's very like dismissible.
Exactly.
Like, it's just kind of like
he's kind of there for like the side, like the cutaway shots.
And then the last moment when he like shoots the dude to save him.
Exactly. But then he's kind of like live like for him, you know, sort of thing. Yeah, it's just even in like when it came down to when the mom died in that confrontation.
Exactly, like stuff like that. It just kind of feels a little like missing.
Well, and what's crazy about that too is like he has the skills to like fight. Like, you know, he was like he was an assassin as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, why didn't you pitch in that fight? You know, like, you weren't gonna protect your own family.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So stuff like that kind of made me feel a little like that the side character or the moments, the scenes with the side characters kind of felt a little not as strong. Yeah. I felt like the hand-to-hand combat bits were pretty good. I liked especially the beginning one, and when he fights his own
his boss,
his former boss or whatever, like in that little room. That was pretty cool.
The weird like the jump cut kind of style thing that it was doing.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it's pretty dark in that room too, so it was whatever. But even when he was fighting the retiree after the hostage bit, that was pretty cool too. Just I hated the last big fight, like that gun, like he just goes in and like
you mentioned.
How stupid do you have to be when you have like 20 guns pointed at one dude and you can't kill the one guy?
Yeah, and like when he just walks into the front door, it's like, oh, this is gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I mean like those kinds of things. Like if it's an action movie, like those kinds of things really like get me out of the like the suspension of belief for action films. Like I mean like to be fair, like a lot of action films do this. Even John Wick does this. You know what I mean? Like it's I mean to a certain extent, like when you're having a gunfight, it's almost inevitable for you to kind of do that.
Yeah.
Because the main character kind of has to
get hit somehow.
Do it. You know what I mean? Like the main character has to survive and the main character has to like get through all these people. And in a gunfight, like numbers win, man. To be honest, right? Like Like,
well, and he had like no hiding. Like most of the the fighting was like literally like him in one spot, and like everybody was.
He has like barely any cover, and people don't know how to shoot a damn gun. And they have like Uzis and stuff, man.
Like they were okay. It might have
like semi-automatic guns, and they have like even automatic guns, and they can't even shoot this one guy who's just standing there, literally in front. Like he's in like one room.
Yeah.
And there's like people like literally surrounding him. And you know like that moment when he's just standing there and everyone's like cautious and they're like looking at him and he's looking at them and they're like
the tension
waiting for the moment. And like the dude literally he starts shooting. Any one of them could have just taken a gun and shot him.
But they ducked. Everybody instead ducks for cover.
Why? Like while he was focused on one dude, anyone there could have shot him, but like, and they do shoot him, but they shoot him on the body where he happens to have body armor.
Well, like even then, but honestly, they just hit him so many times that like that vest would have definitely been useless at some point.
And, like he never gets shot in the arms conveniently, his legs conveniently.
Well, he like from if I remember, like he does get shot like basically everywhere, and like in the moment he gets hit, it's like, ooh, that looks painful, and then he just gets
walks
up,
away.
He's just like,
and, like he gets shot by a shotgun, like 10, like 3 feet away from him, and he still like gets back up like it's nothing. Like
that is what got me
like,
too.
Come on, man.
He was like there, and then he flies back, and then he's just like.
I mean, I understand it's a film, and like you know, at a certain point, you kind of have to suspend your belief.
Sure.
But come on, man. Like every other scene before that was okay. Like it was fine. Like it was acceptable in the sense that like I could still believe that because there were like the environment allowed for those kinds of things where like you know like even when he was fighting the retiree, like everyone else had guns. He like cut the guy's like ankles and then like he used him as body, like he used him as cover basically, and fine, okay. Like the other guy has a freaking automatic like machine gun, but I mean like a rifle, but like
it's okay,
fine. Like, let's just allow that to happen. But the last scene though, come on, like there's just so many people, like you don't even use cover to shoot, like and like at the end, like he goes into like this one room, right?
And then
he shoots that fire extinguisher. All they literally had to do was go in together and just shoot the dude. But they go in like 2 guys just goes in.
Now after he like shot the fire extinguisher and it was going off, they were shooting in the blank room for like a hot minute.
Yeah.
Like they were just loading off.
And I'm surprised he still didn't get hit by those things either. But like even like, do they not have a grenade? Just throw a grenade in there, man. You're a freaking assassination like company. You don't have one grenade.
No bombs allowed. That'd be cheating.
You don't have one grenade.
That would be cheating. Yeah, there were the last scene was definitely
just I feel like the action, the blocking of it could have been a little bit more.
Yes.
Like they could have made it a little bit more believable in a certain sense. But I mean, like I recently watched John Wick 2 as well. And
I did too, actually. Yeah.
And honestly, like even in John Wick, like the gunfighting parts, like it's cool how he fights and like how he does it, but like they're dumb too. Like the people who fight with, you know what I mean? Like,
well, like what always gets me is that scene when they're John and the other guy is walking like in what is that train station? New York.
Grand Central?
Not Grand Central, the other one. Not Twin Towers. Ground Zeroes? No.
Ground Zero?
No, the newly renovated one.
The bird, right? The one that looks like the all white.
Yeah, the all white one.
Yeah.
What's that station
it's called the Oculus, I think.
Yeah, but the name of the station is like.
I forget the name of the station.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. What about?
But like that's where it takes place. That where him and John and the other guy and they're walking to like the train.
Oh, that part where like they're like pew pew pew.
Yeah, they're like walking in the crowd and he's just like.
That was dumb too.
Like,
but I mean, like that's whatever. Like that's just. But what I'm talking about is like when he's fighting a bunch of guys with guns, right?
Sure.
Why do they walk up to him to try to shoot him? They have guns. You know what I mean? Shoot from far away. But they try to go close and then they try to shoot him.
Because if you're farther, you're gonna most likely to miss. You know, you want to be up close. You want to be like here to be like pow.
Some of those people, I'm just like, guys, you have more numbers and you have guns. Use common sense. You know what I mean? Like, and like I understand. You know, like.
It's a movie, Lee. Let's just leave it be. It's a movie. This stretches
while I was watching John Wick, I was like, okay, fine, I'll just let that happen, just because it is what it is. Like, but this film, come on, man, like, it's like at least he's fighting in like John Wick. At least he's like fighting behind cover.
Right.
He's shooting behind cover. He's like going through like different corridor areas.
Yeah,
and, like,
I agree with you. Like the blocking just has everything to do with the mistake of this.
Exactly.
And, like the location.
That whole location is just so easy for him to get shot because he's literally surrounded by all of his coworkers. It's not hard to shoot one person in that environment. You know what I mean? Like at least John Wick, like there's like different corridors and stuff where he hides and like you know, he surprises people and like fine. But like this one, it's just like unforgivable. Like unforgivable. Come on.
Yeah, and it's really funny that he holds out to like the very end too. Like the most absurd fight scene is the first of the climax, but he still has enough like energy to fight the other guy downstairs.
Yeah,
and then like. You know, with the shotgun and then kill the guy that was protecting the chairman. Yeah. Kill the chairman and then kill the VP.
Yeah, the fat dude.
The fat dude upstairs. Yeah. So like, yeah, just.
Yeah. It's just like every other scene before that was okay.
Right.
In the sense of how they played it and like how believable it was. But just like ending scene, it just felt like, oh, we gotta finish this quick. Let's make it like pretty like, you know, spectacular.
I think it was just too spectacular, right? In the way of like, yeah. Which I mean, I agree with. Like, I liked the fight scenes prior to. I mean, I thought that they were very choreographed looking. Like you can see like the beats of the fight, you know, and like what they were doing, which was okay. Like it felt.
I don't mind that,
right? You know? Like it felt stylized in a way too, which was okay. But like I didn't have a high bar for this film either. But yeah, when it came down to that last fight scene, it was like, oh, this is 1,000% spectacle. Yeah. Than like
even when he was fighting that girl on the highway.
Yeah, that was
fine. That was fine.
That
like
was
stuff
cool.
like that are all cool, and like I like those things. Even when he's fighting with the knife and all those stuff, like those are all great. It's just like that last fighting scene with the gun, like with the whole company. It was just like,
now if everybody in the company had knives instead of guns in that scene, we could have had a better discussion.
Right. Right. It's just guns are too overpowered. You know what I mean? it just
Right.
it allows for such limited amount of like maneuverability once you have guns in play.
Sure.
Especially that many guns in play. And like, I'm not just criticizing this film because like every film does that too. I mean, you can't really do a film one versus many people with guns without having some kind of leeway like that, obviously.
Right.
It's just this one is too blatant is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not criticizing the fact that they do it because it just happens because, you know, it's a film. But it's just this one's way too like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain point, a threshold that it passed that you're just like,
I get it. Yeah. It just
man, this one is just a little,
stretched it out a little
it's
too.
a little too much. Like,
I agree.
yeah, even the good, bad, and the weird. There are moments when, you know, you're like,
Yeah, and that's all good.
but the reason why that one works is because it's a comedy film too, as well.
Yep.
A lot of the moments is to be playing. It's playing off that like that craziness, right? That ridiculousness,
Yeah,
right?
the whimsicality of it.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's forgivable there because they're playing to that. But here it's like it's a serious film, right? You're not playing to the comedy of it. But it felt like a comedic, like just going all ham, and it just doesn't really fit the kind of believability of it. But that's my rant.
So F- in the combat department.
Just the last fighting scene, to be honest. Not the last fighting scene, but that big fighting scene.
Story, I guess we can move. Story and structure of. So what do you think?
What do you think?
Well, again, like it's really simple and which is fine. Like, you know, again, simplicity is okay if done right, you know, and it's very straightforward to a degree.
Yeah.
Where it's like, again, like it plays to the genre tropes to the T. So it's like, okay, you got your like the present character, blah, blah, blah. You got like, he has a love interest, the mom, blah, 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 sort of thing. But I got like, I think it fails a little bit in like the structure of it because I found myself getting lost in a number of places. And it wasn't until like today when I was going back and doing notes and reviewing that I was like, oh, that's what that scene went in. Oh, that was actually a flashback. But like I didn't recognize it being a flashback my first watch through. Like that scene where he goes back to the son, to the temp worker, right? It's like he gets a call like in the office. And it turns out that he goes back to the temp worker and he's like hiding him in some random shop.
Laundry place.
Something like that, right?
Dry cleaning place, yeah.
And then he's like the temp worker is having a rant about being let go. And then it cuts to a scene to where apparently Hyeong-do and then the VP or whatever were having a discussion prior to the mission of like, are you gonna back out frying a temp worker? Like, oh, I see you kind of have a heart for him.
Yeah.
In the moment, like I didn't recognize that as being a flashback. It just kind of happened so abruptly, and I don't know, just like I guess maybe the pacing of it, sort of thing.
Also, if you're reading subtitles, it might kind of
yeah, and I think that had something to do with it too, because the subtitles are really at times pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch with subtitles, so
Gotcha.
I probably had a better understanding of it. But
They translated what's that word? 좋습니다 as I love you.
좋습니다.
좋습니다.
Like 좋아합니다, you mean?
Or like, you know when it's like an apology, like I'm sorry, or like
죄송합니다.
yeah. That was translated as I love you.
Really?
I love you at sometimes.
Oh.
So and sometimes they got it right and was like I'm sorry or like, you know, apologies.
Yeah.
And other times
Because he says that a lot to the
Right.
VP, right?
Mhm.
And he gets
pissed
smacked
because
for it, yeah.
well, like that there was a shot when he walks in with the VP and the guy's napping on the couch and he's like
yeah.
that translates as I love you.
Oh, he does say I love you there.
Oh, he does
He
it?
says 사랑합니다, yeah.
Oh, it sounded like
the guy who is like sleeping, he says that to him.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
It sounded like gotcha.
Yeah.
So why do we say that I love you? I don't.
I think it's just like affectionately like sucking up to the boss or whatever.
It's so out of place though. Like, oh, kind of like okay. Yeah. That's something that like falls short with translations. For sure.
I mean, the nuance can be kind of lost there. Yeah, because it was like, why are you saying that?
Why are you like so random?
You're like boss and you know subordinate. That's kind of weird.
It just seems like a random like Google Translate.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that. And then there was another scene that I felt the same way as well. But yeah, just like I got lost into the mix, and I didn't even catch that that kid was like the same kid from the beginning for a little bit
really?
too. Because it's like it just happens so quickly and it doesn't like explain it too well either. Yeah, and again, like they do that, and then in one instance he goes to the mother first, and then he's like, "Oh, your son is fine. He's in the company," and then like the next instance they're reunited again.
Yeah, like that moment is kind of weird because you would think that he would hide him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How naive is he to think that like the company won't try to like figure out what happened there or whatever? Like,
right.
I mean, like if he was, I mean, it's for the story obviously because they need to figure out. But if it was me that was trying to hide him, I would hide him. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
But like that's the intent that I got, and that's kind of what he was doing. Exactly.
But then all of a sudden they're having dinner together. And you're just like okay.
And there's no clear reasoning why that happens. You know? And
I mean, I can make up like.
Sure.
Story. I mean, I can make up a story for him of why he reasoned to do that.
But like you have to think it, and like we shouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I could say, oh, maybe he felt bad, like, and like he showed the
empathy,
the son,
or like
to the mom so that she can see that he's okay, or whatever. But like, it's still not good storytelling if you have to make the audience like create backstories for why the character did something. You know?
Exactly. I guess it's because like the Hyeong-do doesn't have like sympathy in his personality per se, you know, or he's very.
He kind of does, but he's very like quiet about it, right? He's just like reserved.
But I feel like it develops as the story goes, and as he starts kind of having affection for the mother, then he kind of has more of like that soft personality to him, and that's when you know the like his sympathy is coming out and things like that, but. Like before that, he's pretty much flat, and it's hard to see when he is being sympathetic and like when those moments happen. And I think that's why it also fell short with him when we review that he brings the son to the mom.
Yeah,
because it's like, you know, why or like you know where did we kind of spot that in him? You know, so I don't. Yeah, it's just like the structure of the movie just felt too abrupt in places, and I got lost in moments of like, wait, what? Or like, why did that happen? Or why did he do that? And I'm like, oh, that's who that person is, and that's what they're doing.
I mean, as a film, I guess I can't fault a character for being flawed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because you know every person is flawed, and maybe this might be his flaw. Like for me, like if I'm thinking about a hitman, like this guy is way too naive. You know what I mean? Like in some of the ways that he like. Approaches somebody or like approaches a situation like this because like thinking
he doesn't question like in a story like this, you know, a hitman that's kind of changing to be more like human, like they start to question like the morality, like, oh, I've been living like a hitman and mean for so long, but now I'm like starting to be nice, and is this really right? But he doesn't question it, he just kind of goes along with it,
right? Like he finds somebody he likes and he starts trying to spend more time with her, but he doesn't realize that like he has all these like trails. He's leaving trails where people can kind of like figure out what's going on, right? Even that moment with like the cops, like if that happened, if I'm a person who works at a company that kills like is like an assassin, I know that obviously the company is gonna keep tabs on me because like you know like. It's a fishy job, and like you have literally your upper like you know, your
VP hates you.
No. What's the guy he was tasked to kill? His
his former boss.
Yeah, his former boss, right? They were even willing to kill your own former boss. What makes you think that they're not gonna you know think about killing you or keeping tabs on you, right? Right. Like every like.
Well, like all that falls onto like the chairman's responsibility, you know, and the chairman has. Favoritism for him, so I guess it's like he trusts him enough to not do that.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying he's naive. You know what I mean? Like that he has a certain level of like, kind of just assuming things about the company, I guess. And unlike you know, it was kind of mentioned that like he loved the company, like that's all he did and that's all he thought about. And like maybe he just doesn't have the growth as a human being to in other societal like
Yeah.
things, right?
Mm.
So maybe that's why he does act the way he does. So I can understand that, but it's just kind of weird. It's just
Yeah, it's yeah.
I mean, it's his character flaw, so I can't really say it's bad or wrong because every person has certain kinds of flaws, and this is his flaw, and I guess that's the tragedy of the story, I guess, which is fine. But it's just funny to kind of see how that kind of
what of like I guess
unfolds.
On a note of tragedies, like the mom dying, and like I guess the emotional kind of what's the word? The emotional like impacts sort of thing. Like a big turning point would be when the mom dies, and then that's like a trigger point for it. Yeah. Like it's supposed to be a major plot point, but for me, like in the moment, it just falls short.
It felt kind of short for me too, and like the way that I don't know that even the way that the children reacted to the mom dying, or the lack thereof, or like just not really
out there.
You don't really kind of see how that kind of changes them or like affects them as much as like you would think maybe.
Well, like it's like it again. It's I mean most of the flaws and faults fall onto the writing of the story, where it's like we don't that happens and we don't get a moment to see him like mourn, you can say, but instead he just like goes straight to murdering everybody.
2 seconds of it, right?
Like when he's changing and he's like, but that's more of like moving the plot along of like action rather than like character development in a way. It's like, oh no, you killed my wife, now I got to go kill everybody else, that kind of thing. So like even when he has to like, he calls the son, it's like we've been found out, and then they have to take him to the hideout. Like he has to explain to the mom what's going on and who he works for, and then like that just like everything just feels like it's moving the plot along rather than like actually being emotional impacts or kind of like beats in the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just all flat. Like I guess it's kind of like a reoccurring theme for me.
But it's kind of funny and interesting because I think it gets the tone of work life really well. That bland, monotone, flat kind of tone and mood of working at a company.
Right.
Or like maybe the stereotypical company, right? It gets that really well.
I get it. But like it tries so hard to be an action movie that it's like
And exactly. So what they're doing is trying to play that tightrope and the balance between this banal, like just monotone everyday life and this crazy action-packed like assassin hitman life.
Yeah.
And they're trying to balance those two things. And it's interesting because they do pull it off, but because they pull it off, it kind of falls flat in a certain sense.
Sure.
Where like
sounds like you're trying to give them an out, but then the out's like
no, I'm not giving them an out. I'm just giving you my impressions of what they've done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it makes sense of like if you try to mesh those two
together, right?
tones, like it does fall apart because of like just the mix of it.
Yeah.
If you have a mundane tone of like work life, but then you try to make in like a true action movie, like one is exciting, one is not. So it's like, what are you going to end up with? So like naturally, it doesn't necessarily mesh well.
Exactly. I think that's why it kind of feels like weird or awkward or like kind of misplaced in certain sense, in certain scenes and stuff like that.
Not the best idea.
Well, like, I mean, I think the concept of it is fun and interesting.
Right.
And I think overall, to be honest, they pulled it off pretty well. It's just certain moments feel kind of flat, right?
It's an okay movie. I mean, overall, it's
like I didn't hate the movie while I was watching it.
Right.
I didn't feel like it was bad or anything. I just felt like that last big battle was bad, but besides that, honestly, I didn't not like the movie or like I wasn't like, man, this is boring or something like that.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like I agree with you that it's okay for the most part up until like the last battle happens, and then whatever. But I mean, like personally, I kind of expect a little more between the relationship between them, but then like she just kind of dies.
It's just like, his relationship with the mother, all of it kind of just feels kind of weird to me, to be honest. Like even when he's like trying to buy that cafe or whatever, and like he's like with the guitar and like drops the guitar and like all
that felt like a beat to me though. Like that just felt
it feels like a beat, but it just, all of it just kind of feels contrived in a certain sense. Like I don't know, like I know what they're trying to do. It just doesn't feel the best way to do it for me, at least.
It doesn't feel natural to do
that way. I don't know. Maybe it's the acting. I don't know. Maybe it's the like the chemistry between them, or like just the environment, or like just the situation or whatever. But like,
it kind of feels like they went a safe route with the movie, and then like the safe route just falls flat in a way, like without having to do something like experimental or unique.
Or I mean, like it's very mundane, right? Like what they do, and like the little like date moments that they have and stuff like that. But like
very adultish.
I mean that's all fine, but it's just at a certain point, like you're wondering like, how's this working in conjunction with like what the company is trying to do, like, or like how much does the company know about this relationship, and why are they like just kind of standing by? I mean, like I guess the chairman doesn't want to like kill him or whatever,
right,
and stuff like that. But it just kind of feels like they could have been another way, or like there could have been, a different way. Maybe they could have approached it.
Sure. I guess I can see where you're coming from. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, it's fine.
Let's see. I mean, anything else? Comedy bits?
Comedy bits? Which bits?
Come on. Them drifting in the background when the police go to investigate the factory. And he's like, you don't remember that? They come up to the gate and he's like, this place has been operable for like ever. And he has like the chief with them.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're like, some guy's chasing the goon. The guy is on like the tractor and he's like doing donuts around him. I was like, what is happening right now?
I was just like, what is that?
What is this? Like when they're in the picnic, the company picnic, and and then like the girl is like playing with the knife, and the dude's like, "What are you doing? Are you gonna cut steak with that? Put that away." And she's like, "Just puts it in her sleeve." I was like, "Okay, that's kind of funny," but yeah,
I guess there were comedic bits.
There were some like where they put it was fine. Yeah. I mean, I think there is one positive note. It's the way they put in these little comedy bits, but it didn't save the movie, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it worked. It worked fine. It was good. I like that company retreat kind of thing where they go up to the mountain, or like company hike or whatever. That was pretty funny. Because like, if you think about it in the context of like a real company, like I'm sure they would do stuff like that.
Yeah, it made sense for me.
So like it's kind of funny to see how
seriously they took like being an actual like white collar company, you know?
And like they're like, they're presenting him the plaque or whatever, or his name.
He has like a legit office.
Yeah, so now he has a legit office because he's like promoted or whatever. Like those bits are nice. It's fun. It's cool to see how an assassin company would do that.
Right. Like again, going back, like
how they would play the cover.
They really stuck to their guns on like this is our cover.
I think those bits were the best bits of the film. When they're trying to show the life of a company. It's very interesting to think about, right? And I feel like if they did flesh those out more, it would really be cool. That like one of the things I really like about John Wick is the way that John Wick 2 and stuff, like how they're fleshing out the assassin the underground like setting of all of this thing happening, and like the Continental, like the hotel, and all of their like little rules and like different things that they need to like abide by, and like how everything's connected, like how contracts work, and how like people send contracts, and how you like get open contracts, and like how those like people are like typing on those like old like 50s, old school
kind of like
things, and like they're like punching in those little like that's all cool. Like I love stuff like that where like it expands the world, where it helps you kind of understand what it's about. and like elaborating on stuff like that. And like in this film too, they did a lot of that, which I loved. I think those were the best parts of that about this film.
Yeah, they were pleasant to see, and yeah, they could have. I guess I can see in ways that they could have brought it up as well.
Yeah.
What do you think of Yeah, like again going back to like a previous point, like even with the boss kind of lost me. Like that scene where he's telling him about the boss, and he's like, I know you guys used to work together, and he's like kind of giving exposition, him and the chairman, and then it like transitions to like a cut with him. He's like, oh, you know, his 7-year-old son died in a cab accident.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to like another flashback of like him and his boss at the time when he's like showing off his son. Like I got lost there too. I was like, what is this?
Oh yeah, it was a flashback.
Yeah. And then it fades to like the present and back into the courtyard.
It's just like a moment showing like how he loved his son
and how when he was a good boss before he had to murder him, and he's watching random kids in an arcade.
Oh yeah.
Which is like, okay.
Just smashes that guy's head in.
And it's like a Tekken moment.
That arcade reminded me of Memories of Murder.
Yeah.
They're in that arcade.
Now, all right. Did you think that like the police needed to be in this movie?
Honestly, they were very like minor.
Yeah.
But I mean, they pushed the plot in that moment when like he coincidentally sees the main character
when he's walking,
and
the
he
mom.
asks for his like card or like his ID and stuff.
I thought
the mom gives him the card that he gave her, stuff like that.
Well, I thought about that too,
which pushes the plot a little bit.
But they could have easily written around that though.
Yeah, obviously,
right? Because like they find out that he doesn't actually murder his boss, so like there's already a reason, and there is a reason for the VP to distrust him. There's a reason for everybody to distrust him at that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. You know? I mean, the police are very incompetent.
Yeah. Like they're trying to be competent, but like they're always like. Well,
that one guy is the only one who's kind of competent.
Right.
And everyone else doesn't believe him. So.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It just seems like an added.
I mean, I think the only reason they're there is so that at the very end they can capture him.
Like even that, like he gets a call about a noise complaint. Like that could have just. You know, like, okay, thanks for that excuse.
Yeah, but
whatever.
It is what it is.
Whatever. That was the last shot we saw him in. Like, he didn't even, after that. Whatever.
Yeah, the police were kind of weak, too. It was just kind of like, why are you here?
Exactly. I smell alcohol. It's like, I don't smell anything. It's like, go back, dude. Yeah, anything else? I mean, that's kind of... Any wrapping conclusions?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think I enjoyed the world building bits, and I enjoyed kind of like the inside of how they work, and like the part where like they're having a meeting, and like they have that board. It looks like they're having a meeting, but they're talking about like how to kill somebody. And like they like practicing how to stab and like
right.
And like it's kind of cool to see like that underground place with that old
grandma or whatever,
whoever she is. Like she's like cleaning the gun and like making sure there's no prints on it and stuff like that.
I've been doing this when you were playing with BB guns.
Yeah, and like you know, like even the little storage room with all the files of all the hits and stuff like that. Like all of those, I think it's great. Like even like using temp workers as like one-off like hitmen. That's like funny and kind of cool to see too. Like just like the world building of like a company that is really like a hitman company. Like that's fun to see and like to see how they play with that in terms of like what a company is.
Sure.
Is I think the best part about this film. And even the action scenes, I really like the action scenes. Overall, it's pretty fast paced. Like you said, there's like jump cuts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty clear. Like, it wasn't all just jumps and cuts.
No, it felt like stylized. Like, I mean, it was used purposely.
It is stylized. It does feel choreographed, especially like the very beginning scene when he like jumps on the wall and like he starts shooting all of them. I liked how they use the light like on and off to kind of like
teleportation.
Use that as a means of moving the action along and stuff like that. a lot of moments like that. I like the scene when like the two subordinates of the main character is has a hit on him, and they're like driving, and he's like,
take the circle road.
Yeah, take the highway or whatever, and he's like, and they're like, oh no, there's traffic there. He's like, no, just take the highway.
Take it anyway.
Yeah, I like those moments. I liked how he's like, oh, you think you can fire me?
Think you can bring a 45 to a meeting?
Yeah.
And she's like, what?
I love like just like the tension there,
Right.
the expressions of their faces, and they're just like, crap, this guy knows now. We gotta kill him now, and stuff like that. All of those things are great. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie, but there's a lot to kind of be like about this movie
Not
too.
love about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. Overall it's an okay movie, and the action is okay and it's well done in most areas. And I mean, it's just easy to follow. Like, it's an easy watch, really.
Well, I feel like you had a hard time watching this, man.
I
You,
did.
Like,
I mean,
lost like.
maybe if I focused a little more, but like, I did get lost in some areas. But for the most part, it is.
It's not. Simple. Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's that hard to follow along. It's pretty straightforward.
It was just like the way that it placed things in certain areas. Like, it was like,
yeah, it might be a subtitle thing.
It could be that too, though.
There
honestly.
are some movies where it does stuff like that. And it's harder because it's subtitled, and right. It's not my first language. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it does do that, so maybe it might be that.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not like bad like
transition.
I'm trying to figure out, like, the wording is okay, I guess. Like you get, like, the subtitles are fine and like you know what they're saying, but I guess it's like. Maybe the wording or like the syntax of it in some situations where it's just like the sentence doesn't feel right.
When it's
like,
transitioning from one thing to another, you like sometimes you're assuming it's like a continuation of that.
Right.
But it's talking about something. It seems like it makes sense, but then it's like a completely different like scene or whatever. Yeah. So you're like,
there's like, it kind of misses that nuance too in a way, like it doesn't feel conversational maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why our podcast is called Getting Past the Subtitles.
That's why we're here. I'm with you guys. I understand. Korean isn't my first language. Lee has the advantage. It's okay.
Yeah.
Dog it. So don't go watch it on... No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I think the weakest parts were just like the relationship between the mother and the family dynamic with him in it. All of that, I felt like it was the weakest part. Sure. Besides that big battle. Mm-hmm. Besides that big battle.
Besides I
think that was the weakest part. Yeah. But I don't think it was necessarily bad.
Sure. I mean, I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was necessarily bad either. I thought it was okay. And I just found it wanting more from it.
Exactly. Like,
and that's just
I think if they developed it more, it would have been even better.
Right.
But I felt like it fell short a little bit.
Yeah. And again, that's not... Like, the blame is a little to the characters, like, just kind of like who he is and who she is, and also a bit to the writing, but...
Yeah. And, like, I'm just being very critical about it.
Right, I understand.
But I don't think it's bad in any real, like... Except for that battle scene, last scene. Like, that scene is, like...
Unless you're doing a podcast, like
the only thing that I really, really, really just didn't like was that last, like, big, like, gun fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only thing that I can just be like, this was bad, was that. Everything else was just like, I guess a nitpick is what we would say.
Yeah. But the last scene was like if Clark Kent walked into the room with a gun. And then it's
like I liked the very beginning of that gunfight when it was like the
front desk lady.
Yeah, the front desk. Like, that's cool because they know each other. He doesn't really want to kill him, and he's kind of like, don't do it. And she does it and she dies. Like, if they played on that a little bit more, like something like that along the lines of that within the context of like that, the whole area, but maybe like him maneuvering through all those places.
Right.
Or like, not just have him just stand there in the middle and like everyone already like sees him, and any one of them could have honestly killed him at that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like an opportunity that was missed. It would have been cool. It would have been even cooler if he was going through like floors. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he starts from the bottom. Let's say the front desk was in the bottom, And he starts going through floors, and every floor will be like a little obstacle that he has to go through. And like maybe like he goes to first floor, he tries to take the elevator, but then there's people in the elevator. So he's like, no, I gotta take the stairs. And then he goes through the stairs, and then he goes through like floor by floor, and people are like trying to shoot him and like fight him in the stairs.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been more believable in the sense of like just blocking wise and like just ability to get through a certain area without.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of things that they could have done.
I'm just giving giving you some weird ideas, but but I just feel like it was a missed opportunity, or like it just kind of felt like
a rushed opportunity.
Okay, we just need a big spectacle now, so let's just figure out how to do that. And
well, that's what action movie needs.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame them for doing that, but I just feel kind of
cheated.
Yes.
The headline of this podcast: cheated.
He should have been dead way long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, like if we go through this logic, you know, we'll you know, it's never ending, right? Obviously, for any action film.
Yeah. But
I feel like
this just crossed that.
Yeah.
That passable
and I feel like I'm
unbelievability.
beating this dead horse now, so I gotta stop.
Viewers are like,
I get it. I don't want to hear you talking about this anymore.
Stop. You talked about it 30 minutes in the beginning. Stop.
I did. No, I did preface it with good stuff in the beginning, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just kidding, guys. But the last half of the beginning.
I told you what I was going to talk about at the end, so I feel like this is warranted.
You've been warned.
Yeah.
We told you what was gonna go down.
I told
and then
you
went down.
The bad stuff that I kind of didn't like.
Yeah. So I mean, would you recommend it?
I would. An action film just to watch and fun. It's fun, right? It's fun to watch. I think the company dynamic is really kind of cool to see. I don't think any film or TV show has really done something like this. I don't know. Maybe it did. Can you think of something?
What do you mean?
Just like this kind of like company like.
I feel like I'd have.
I think I have seen something,
for sure. Yeah.
But this is an interesting, fun take to it. I think. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it feels like again like tropey, but I'm trying to think of like other styles that done it. But it's like it came out in 2012, so it kind of feels maybe like an early iteration of sort of like this kind of style of story of like that hitman quality and workplace, or like just using a cover for being a hitman kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's been done a lot, but like an actual whole company with like a
like as kind of like deliberate like this in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe not to like this degree,
right?
Yeah. Like I don't think I've seen anything that's like they really take the company so seriously to be like, okay, I can see why.
I guess it's kind of like akin to like superheroes, like a company where like you know, they like it's like a company where like they foster like superheroes and like kind of make them grow, like X-Men or whatever, like an academy of superheroes, something like that, right? Where like, you know,
but it focuses on like just real world like company rather than like something of supernatural or something like that. So yeah, I mean it's an okay recommendation. I don't know, I would just be like Man from Nowhere.
I think I mean like I would rather recommend Man from Nowhere than I would recommend this,
without a doubt.
But I don't think it was a bad film. Like if you run out of action films to watch,
if you stumble upon it, I wouldn't say don't watch it.
Yeah,
you know?
I wouldn't say don't watch it. Sure. I would say if you want to watch something that has action and it's pretty fun to watch.
I think somebody have to come. If somebody was like, "Hey, have you seen this movie Accompaniment?" I'd be like, "Yeah." It's like, "Is it good? Should I watch it?" I'd be like, "It's okay. You should watch it."
Yeah,
that would be like
say don't watch it.
Right.
So,
right.
If you came up, like you said, if somebody came up to me and was like, "Should I watch this film?" I'll be like, "Hey, why not?"
Sure.
Yeah, it's a decent film. It's not like
you won't lose your eyeballs, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's not off the hook, but it's fine.
You'll be like, you won't be like, You'll be good. You'll be good. Cool. So 2 more to go.
Yours.
What is next? It's me. So yeah. So the next will be a Japanese film called The Fable. It came out in 2019, and
you have a little synopsis for that?
I honestly don't. I can. I don't know. I have never seen this. So starting with like accompaniment, we're like all in the dark. Brand new experiences. Can't spell, guys. Bear with me.
2019.
2019, directed by
Recent.
According to IMBD, trained as a ruthless assassin since childhood, a mob hitman is ordered to become a normal, law-abiding citizen.
Interesting.
So it is the opposite of what we just watched, pretty much.
Is there a...
Based on a manga, apparently.
Do you know where we can watch it?
Very good question.
Because it's not out anywhere, right?
Not... So, nothing on Google that it says... Yeah, does it say... Yeah, it doesn't really
It's
say...
not like on Netflix or anything.
No, not on Netflix for sure. But it doesn't say like Amazon or anything like that either. Yeah, so good luck, I guess.
All right. Use the resources that you have at your disposal.
Yeah. Use your imagination.
I'm sure you can get like a rental of it or something somewhere.
Maybe. I mean, Amazon has like
it's
a lot
just,
of
I feel like a lot of Japanese films kind of don't have as much reach in terms of like where they like supply it.
Unless it's like a hit or like critical acclaim.
Unless it's a really big film or it's been a while. Like it takes longer for Japanese films, I feel like, to kind of like reach the
you do get like a lot more
audience.
You do get like a lot more newer Korean movies released.
Yeah, faster than like Japanese ones.
I'm like looking on Amazon to see.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Just like feed them to the wolves. Oh my god.
It's okay. We're gonna go through the same thing too.
You got a week to figure it out. But yeah, so that will be our next one, and then we'll wrap it up with Enter the Fat Dragon. See, I remember the name this time. Look at me. Pat on the shoulder.
All right.
So yes, and then we can think about a new series. Ooh.
Finally.
La 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 la. I feel like this has gone fast though.
Really? I feel like this was kind of long.
Really?
Because we still have 2 more to go, so.
Yeah.
I'm like not even.
I think like by like give me to like the last one, I'll be like I'm finally done. Like jeez.
I mean it's been fun. I really love action films, so.
Yeah, this is interesting. We got like an entire lifelong movies to go. So yes, that is that. Thank you guys.
We'll see you next week.
The Fable next week. Don't miss it.
Bye.